recording this for anybody who can't make it. So really what we wanted to do with OpenOffice today is answer some of the questions that we're getting quite frequently. We're both receiving emails from our students, which is great. We love it when you reach out for help. But we thought, you know what, let's just show them a few things because that might help a whole bunch of our students. So let's dig in. Okay, just some things to remember. If you have a question, type it in the chat, which you're already doing, so that's perfect. We've gotten some questions about, I'm not really sure where my assignments are. I don't really know where to click. So we're going to show you where to work through your content line by line by line because everything's put in order for you. It's great. And you'll want to read the screen to know if you come across an activity that you need that Coach Workbook for. So what I'd like to do for just a moment is share my screen with you, and we're just going to do like a super fast tour. Give me just a moment to move this screen over to my other monitor. There we go. Put it on the correct website. That would be great. Okay. All right, let me do the screen share jobby.
And let's hope it works.
Okay. I know. Seriously.
Hey, this Blackboard system is not the easiest, so.
For real. You can say that again. All right, give me a green check if you can see my screen and you see the big yucca plant in the desert with the clouds. When I was a kid, I loved yucca plants because it was fun to say. Sounds like yucky. Oh, that's right. Okay. So
typically
a lot of people
here, if you click on like the kids' schedules would show up in the right-hand side on our screen. It says your scheduled items.
Yes, that's it. That's the part. So a lot of people are falling into this trap, which it's easy to do, where you just go straight to this section where it shows you what assignments you have assigned on a particular day. And so that makes things really confusing because in math class especially, I'm going to click into our classroom here, you really have to go in order, page by page, lesson by lesson, activity by activity. So the best place to start is clicking in this title bar up here, click the word content. And that'll take you into the content of the class. So on the left-hand side, it shows you all of our units. And see, this matches up to your Coach notebook because real numbers is in that very first section of your workbook. So what I would do is click on 1, and that gives me a preview of everything that I need to get done in this unit. So there's a section called Get Ready and Learn for 1.01. I'll need to go through those, so I'll click Get Ready. I'll click the first link available.
Miss Achilli, hold on, let everything load in between your clicks, please. Okay, we can see that page now.
Good deal. Thank you for telling me that. And you'll see navigation buttons that tell you, okay, I'm going to click right to advance through my lesson. Or sometimes you'll see a block down here that says page 1 of 3, and you use the arrows, go to page 2, go to page 3. And every page tells you exactly what needs to be done. So it's really easy. You just have to get yourself in the habit of going into the class and clicking content. So I went ahead and clicked the right arrow, so I'll let that load in for you. I clicked the right arrow to tell it to take me to the next step. What do I do now? And it took me to a practice problem. Okay, so we've got some slides to show you as well for other things you can expect to see. Let me stop sharing my screen.
And while this is loading back up, give us a green check mark if you are following along and understand what Miss Achilli is showing you. Let us know. All right, perfect.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch
nice.
of we've got a bunch of smarty pants in here. That's awesome.
Ew.
Awesome. Okay, go ahead. Perfect.
So here's just another look at how the screen might look when you go in to do an activity. So I think this is for today, actually. It's on your own star. And when you click into the title for 1.03 star day, you've got links to go through. Now, this unit has a section called practice. When you click into that section called practice, it's going to give you 3 totally different areas to go try problems. So the first thing, it's going to give you some problems right there on the screen. And you see here's your advanced arrows. Then after you finish those and get to the end of those 3 pages, you jump to the next one. And look, these are 10 separate practice problems to work through before you click the arrow to go to the next page. Then on this last section, it's telling you to click this link and go to USA Test Prep to get even more practice. So just be aware you're going to get problems in a variety of formats, and don't let it freak you out. We just want to give you as much opportunity to practice as you can. As far as something we do every week. Yes.
Okay. So everybody sees the screen right here. And on that 2 of 3 pages down here, right here, on this page, does everybody see all these little boxes down here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and a next button. These are your practice problems. Okay? Now don't worry about the word star. Okay? We use the word star throughout this whole program in different ways, but it's what it's called is star practice. This does not mean that you are taking a star test, but everything in this curriculum is written based on the star test that you will take at the end of the school year. So I get a lot of questions about why does this say star? That's so confusing. Don't let it be. Okay? It is just the name of what all this is. Okay, yes, they're getting us prepared. Awesome. Okay. Roman, the second page is kind of broken or I don't understand. So on the second page here, when you see all these problems, okay, this here says refer to your workbook, right? Because this is just giving you answers. This is just giving you answers. So you have got to go to your Coach Book.
Handy workbook.
Yeah. If you don't have this right now, you need to just let your teacher know. So lesson practices on page 10 and 11. There are 10 problems that you work out. Okay? That's it. That's it. That Miss Achilles put on there. So that page was very confusing to everyone, including us, until we were told. So we're telling you now. Does that help? Does that help, Roman? Perfect. Can we see the cover? Right. Yeah, the cover's right here.
There it is.
Yep.
All right, so y'all can type your questions into the chat as they pop up, and we will answer them for you. If you don't have your workbook yet, you need to email their advisor, right, Mrs. Foltermann, and copy us on the email?
I wouldn't copy us. We don't need to know that. Okay. But when you email your advisor, you need to be very specific. This is Joe Smith in 8th grade. I still do not have my math coach workbook. Okay? Do not email them and say, I don't have my workbook. Now they have to email you back and say, what grade are you in? What workbook do you not have? Right? So I want you to be specific. Okay?
Good advice.
All right, thumbs up.
Good advice. So I'm going to show you real quick some pictures I took from my workbook that show you exactly what you can expect to find. Every chapter is laid out with the same pattern. They give you practice problems. They give you definitions. So the table of contents is where I would start. And these titles here, understanding real numbers, look, irrational expressions, scientific notation, those match up to the individual modules that you're working through, like right now in our course content on the website. So it flows beautifully. So a lot of students they've been confused. They don't know how to solve the problems. Maybe the course content wasn't helpful to them. Pull out your workbook, because let me show you how much information they give you. It is so wonderful. So for every lesson, they give you an awesome paragraph with vocabulary that explains what's going on. So this one is about rational numbers versus irrational numbers, real numbers, how do you tell what's what? And I think this page is so clear and crisp and succinct to tell you exactly what those different terms mean. It helps me because, I mean, my goodness, Mrs. Foltermann, we've learned a lot of words at our age, and it helps me to see a nice summary on one page to help me remember, oh yeah, rational, I know what that is. So this is in your workbook. This is on page 6, I believe.
May I add something?
Yes.
Okay, I want you to not just pay attention to that chart. I want you to look at the definitions of the words. Okay? What is an integer? We need to kind of go back and think about an integer. Can somebody type in the chat, what is an integer? What is an integer? Kind of have to dig back in our memory banks. Ooh, Miss Achilles, we got a bunch of people typing. Okay, a negative or positive, a whole number and their opposite.
Oh, more people typing. Nice.
Awesome. Yes, an integer is all whole numbers and their negative counterparts. Just a whole number. So we have to remember what the definitions of some of these are. All right, rational numbers. That's any number that can be written dividing one integer by another. That's very important because that is a really weird word. And then irrational is really confusing to people. Okay? Irrational is a number that cannot be written in a simple fraction because the decimal goes on forever without repeating. It's just like an infinity number. So I want you to really pay attention to those words and definitions because this is on the STAR test at the end of the year. All right, Miss Achilles, it's all yours.
I love that. Thank you. I still need these notes from time to time. We found this really cool graphic that kind of helps you see that a number can fall into many categories. So you can have a number like 72 that's a whole number. It's also an integer. It's also rational. And it also belongs to this huge category of real numbers. So anything in this whole numbers category is actually like 4 things at the same time. Irrational is out here by itself. So if you have your calculator, I want you to do this for me. If you have it handy, I want you to take it out and type the number 2, and then press the square root button that looks like this, the funky little house thing that goes over top. So press 2, and then press the little square root button. If you get an answer, I'd love to see it in the chat.
Now, on a graphing calculator, you would hit second square root number 2, enter. So it's opposite. If you're using your calculators on your cell phones or just a regular calculator, you do just like what Miss Achilles said.
Right. So let me know if you figured this out. Tell me in the chat. I'll go ahead and answer.
Yeah,
I got a question, how to turn a repeating decimal into a fraction. So if the decimal goes on forever, like infinitely, it never stops, you can't turn it into a fraction. I mean, because you don't, if it never ever stops, then it would, you don't know what number to put in the numerator or the denominator, because you don't know, is there an end? I don't know if there's an end. So like, oh, I love that. Look at that. 1.414213. That's awesome. So that one, there, I don't see a pattern emerging from her numbers she typed in. It looks like it's going to go on forever. So that means the square root of 2 is an irrational number. It's not a whole number or a number that can be expressed in a fraction. It's long and ugly.
The other thing that we learned, and you know, Miss Achilles and I, we teach a lot of different topics within math. We always have to be, like, we have to think about, okay, now hold on a second. What are we doing here? So
yep.
I Googled, okay, Mrs. Foltermann Googled, why is the square root of 2 an irrational number? Okay, so you can Google things, right? And it's because the square root of 2 is not an integer, because 2 is not a perfect square. What is a perfect square? Does anybody know? What does perfect square mean? Somebody give me an example of a perfect square. What is a perfect square?
Or maybe give us an example of a perfect square if you're not sure how to write the definition of it.
Yeah, I think
but you know one.
I think they're thinking. We got some people typing.
Love it. That's a good
All right.
one.
Diella, why would 25 be a perfect square? And you are correct, but why is that a perfect square? All right, awesome.
Very nice.
4 is a perfect square. Why is 4 a perfect square? Doesn't have anything to do with sides.
Basically, we hear the word square and we're thinking shapes.
Yeah, squared. Sorry, squared. No, squared. 4 squares. Okay, think about this. When we are not talking about geometry squares right now. Okay, we are talking about the term squared with a D on the end. A perfect square number are the squares of whole numbers like 1, 4, 9. Think about your multiplication tables. If you take a number times a number that you divide it back out by its own number, that's a square. Right? So 2 times 2 is 4. If I divide it back out by 2, it's still the same number, 2. So on your multiplication tables, that's the easiest way to reference back to that. 5 times 5 is 25. Divide it back out by 5, it's still 5. So 5 is a square number.
And I want to build on what, let's see who that was, what Erin was saying about the shape of a square, because you're not that far off. You can tie this into shapes, and maybe that'll help you remember. So think about when you have a square, you know all the sides are the same, right? So how do you find the area of that square? If these are all the same, you multiply the height times the width. 2 times 2 makes a perfect square. That's 4 units in area. So you're not really off track that much thinking about the shape square. Pretty smart on your part, actually. Okay, also what you find in your workbook. So they give you that amazing introduction page with the vocabulary and the definitions and maybe a chart. And then it goes straight into examples with their solutions. So you can kind of walk through the thought process of, okay, how do you solve a number like this? Yeah, that is a great question. What is that line above the 3? What in the world is that about? Yeah, it just goes and goes. Goes and goes. So it says apply the definitions of rational and irrational numbers. A decimal that repeats is a rational number. The reason why, if there's a pattern that repeats over and over and over again, that works because it's the same number. It's predictable. So that's going to fall into the rational number category. You may have heard the word rational just used in regular life, right? Like if I said, you know what, Mrs. Foltermann, you're a pretty rational person. What would I be saying about her? If I said she was rational, what does that mean? And if you haven't heard the word, that's cool. So in daily terms, if I say you are rational, that means you're predictable. You make sense. Okay, so these numbers make sense. They're predictable. Why? Because it's that 3 that's repeating over and over. It's not like one of these nasty looking ones where, oh my gosh, look at those. 0.183782946 ... means it goes and it goes. There's no pattern to it. If I said, oh, Mrs. Foltermann, you're kind of being irrational, I would be telling her you are not making a whole lot of sense right now. So think about what these words could mean in real life to help you get some context around it. Okay, the next thing that you'll find in the workbook, going through lesson 1, you'll get a coached example. So what they mean by coached is they're going to guide you at every step along the way. Here's the problem. We're going to tell you, here's how to write the equation. Now what if you don't know how to do that? Well, you could look back to the first page where it gave you a description. You could look back through some of the examples that they worked out, because I'm betting there's an example that they worked out that did exactly this, and you can go look for how they solved it and pattern after what they did. But you're just filling in blanks, follow it step by step by step. And this is in every lesson. It's so helpful. And then like we showed you earlier, at the very end of each lesson, you got some amazing practice problems that are multiple choice. At the end of the whole chapter 1, y'all, this is gold right here. You got a chapter review. So when it comes time to take our test over Unit 1, this whole review, I'm telling you, would be a great place to study.
And I want to add to
So
that,
workbook
Ms.
is
Achilli.
amazing.
Last year, we did not have this workbook.
Right.
This is a whole new curriculum. K-12 wrote it for Texas, and they wrote it in the same pattern as this workbook. So you guys have such an awesome curriculum this year. We had to put a lot of extra work into last year to try to get it to work, which we did. But this year, guys, you have so many resources along with Google.com and YouTube, right? So make sure that you are using your workbook with your content. Erin, what were you asking? Ms. Achilli went back to that page.
I think these where they have to, where it says to set the variable in equal to the given decimal. So what they want you to do is set the variable in, look down below, there's in, equal to, oh hey, there's an equal sign. the given decimal. Well, what's the given decimal? 0.268, where 68 repeats over and over. So here you would write 0.268. I've got to hook up my pen, y'all. Okay, the decimal has how many repeating digits? Well, 68 repeating over and over, so it's got 2. Write a new equation. Oh, you know what? This is supposed to be the entire number. There we go. So it's the entire number up here. Write a new equation by multiplying both sides of the equation by, in this case, they multiplied everything by 100. So 100. That means 100, on the left side of my equation there's an n, so that turns into 100n. On the right side of my equation I have 9.268. I need to put that in my calculator. 9.268 times 100. And they show you right here. So in real life you'd use your calculator, but they show you. That turns into 926.868. I've got to get my pen. This is annoying. Yes, write all over that book. It's yours. It's yours. It's yours. Subtract the original equation from the new equation. So I'm just following the steps. I'll be honest with you guys, this is not how I learned this stuff way back in the dark ages when there were dinosaurs. We didn't do problems like this. So it's fresh to me as well, and I'm trusting the workbook. I'm trusting the steps. And if I'm not sure what to write, I look ahead to say, okay, somehow I have to get to that step. How am I going to get there? What happens? So they set it up for you. They took the new equation you made when you multiplied everything by 100. They subtracted out the original equation you made way up here. And you're going to need your calculator to finish solving it. So look, use Google, use YouTube. You can literally type in this exact question on YouTube, and I'm betting you'll find a video if the stuff on the website isn't helpful. Okay, we are coming to the end, and I think that's pretty much everything we wanted to show you. Yes. So if you ever want to save the whiteboard, you want to save the slides because they were super good. Right here in Blackboard, up in the upper left-hand corner, you click File, Save, Whiteboard. You want all of the pages from what we just did together. And you're going to save it as a whiteboard PDF. So anytime you see some slides that we use that you love, go through that. File, Save, Whiteboard. All pages. Save it as a whiteboard PDF. We will show this slide at the end of every class we have together. So if you're not comfortable with it yet, you will be, I promise. Our Class Connects start next week. They're on your schedule. So when you log into the online school, you click Schedule. You see classes next week. Exciting. Open office is every day, Monday through Thursday, 1 to 1:30. And then we have contact information here as well. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording because we are right at the end of our time.